Panels, I'm sure that every one of us wants justice, equity in our society, and the government aims to realize that future, but in the end they're just making things worse, and that's where we will be brought to oppose. First, what is a political competency test? How does it work? Simply, it is a test to evaluate whether a person is eligible to become a political candidate or not. By evaluating, it means that the tests are testing a person about their knowledge in the realm of law and politics. Sure, the test purpose is to bring justice to politics world, but in the end, all of the law and constitution are just written text. So this test will be testing them in the context of theory like law, etc. And the mechanism simple. With the system, the politicians are obliged to take the test so that the result can be used for people, for society, to evaluate the political candidate. But then we believe that this will bring a bad result in the society itself, which we explain in my argument. But first, before the argument, I want to state the thing that I want to rebut. So the government say that they want justice and bring competency in politics. Well, I also obviously support that, but then they are saying that there are three roots of problem in the status quo in our world, the opposition world. First, politics culture were broken because it's based on fame and legacy, and who can get the most attention. And the second, engagement in politics is unhealthy because politicians are using bold statement and getting attention instead of just fixing the problem. And the third, there are distrust in society because the government is incompetent. The thing is, panels, this problem can also happen in the world, and that's why we are now going to moving in our arguments. First argument, bias judgment. Same as how college student smartness is being seen by their GPA, in the government's world, politicians will also be judged based on their score, which is a problem because two things. First, unsportsmanlike and injustice. Just like any other one, there is one unwritten rule in tests. You can always cheat, no matter how strict it is, how many supervisors are there. There will be always a way to cheat, and boom, the test that was supposed to determine the competence of politicians suddenly fails, and worse, making society more vulnerable. Why is that? Because as the government said, this test was supposed to be the assurance in picking a suitable political candidate, but if in the end it was just as corrupt as politicians nowadays, but the people will trust a politician because of their score, but then the politician may turn out to be more incompetent because they can easily cheat after test with little knowledge about politics. Even if they don't cheat the test, oh please, money talks. Just like how in Indonesia you can pay to get a driving license, so does in this case. And I need to remind you that corruption is very common nowadays, and if you want to get it to corruption with this test, it's too late because in the end, the one holding this test is already corrupt itself. So what will happen? Politicians can be more easily corrupt in their engagement on society. The political world will be more broken, and worse, the society will believe that the more the politicians more in the government world, and thus it backfires the government world itself, and thus the opposition would win. But then second reason, same logic, the corrupt will already get the truth. In the contrary of my first reasoning, the test of one that's supposed to be incompetent to be competent was instead being manipulated, thus giving them a bad result. So corruption pro max. Incompetent politicians will be able to strive with the one that's competent instead false. Even worse, say, what if a political party has so much power that can control the result of the test? Simple, large-scale polarization, and that's definitely gonna bring worse result. In the end, the one test that's supposed to be safety net in protecting the society fails, and thus making people believe in a fake safe reality, resulting in a backlash worse than the status quo itself. And then for my second argument, not all people learn from the theory. Sometimes people can manage society not because they know the theory, but they know from their experience, and this will be a problem in the government world. Why? First, not all people can afford education, but they can always learn from their surrounding. Nowadays, people will be considered lucky if they can get education like this, but most of them couldn't. Why? First, education is really expensive, especially in the section of politics, law, etc. That definitely gonna cost a lot of money considering the prestige they will get, the title they will get after graduating. Same as a doctor who has to spend a lot of money on their college before finally being able to become a doctor. There's no difference in this political school. So in the alternative, people don't learn from school, but from experience. Meanwhile, with the existence of political competency tests, they will be having a hard time because they don't know the theory to some extent. And second, even if you say, oh, they can just learn it from public facilities like library, for example, or maybe YouTube is the one. Well, first, in developing country, especially the poor country, trying to find a resource like that is very hard. Like, there's no library with good quality book, or maybe there's no internet for you to access YouTube. Meanwhile, the one that has money in that country are the ones that controlling the force of its own country, because there will be so much gap in the economy inequality. So, but the one with money can absolutely control the political stream of a country that may be gonna lead to a worse condition of the country. The poor are unable to force themselves. But then, even if the country isn't poor, where they have public resource, the premises of political competency tests can also still burdening. Think about this: minorities that want to represent their people has to learn hard and long, while the majority that have money can represent themselves with no problem. Sorry. And in the end, this political competency test will just give you a hard time for the justice to strive itself. But then, second, theory isn't supposed to be the anchor in a political world. Just in the morning, I was having a talk with my dad on my major of college. I said to him, Dad, I want to be an engineer because I can easily memorize physics and math formula, but also can quickly do a calculation, so it will be easy for me to do it. But then my dad simply said that engineering isn't all about counting and calculation. And in fact, the calculation in engineering are usually so little that a basic high schooler with a basic science knowledge may be able to do it without having to go to college. But then my dad also said that the one that was being tested in engineering major is the practical itself, the way you handle a machine, the way you repair it, not just the theory. And panelists, it's also the same in this political world. A knowledgeable person may be the one without knowledge, but in the end, the one with experience still beats them. And in the end, experience is the best teacher, and thus having a test based on a theory with this concept of political will not work. And in the end, with the government side aims for justice and making a test that's supposed to be able to determine the competence of people, the test itself isn't really competent for this purpose, and that's why we will be proud to oppose. Thank you.